Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and even consider hitting the dreaded notification bell. We've also recently set up a Discord server, so feel free to join that if you want to chat to people, or just lurk in the shadows. The link is in the description below. This was a video requested by one of our patrons, so cheers to Ryan for that. The idea is centered around INTJs reassuring people that they aren't robots, and we can debate the ethics of lying at some later date. Basically, developing their extroverted feeling, or at least becoming aware of it, and having better social interactions in general. So what are the issues that INTJs have resulting from poor extroverted feeling? Commonly, they can offend people, misread vibes or social cues, not be able to persuade certain types of people or charm them, not being able to play the social game well. Because extroverted feeling is their polar function, which in the socionic system means their absolute worst function, you can question the notion of whether it's even worth it to work on it, because it's never going to be something that is natural. However, I think it can be done, or at least faked. And if those two things have the same effect, is there a difference? So I do know an INTJ who has decided to work on this issue, to develop strategies for dealing with people in more harmonious and productive ways. So both her and I have the exact same approach, which is simply, we read a lot of books. Here's the most important thing to note with self-help books of any kind. Take them seriously, but not literally. They are written to be hyperbolic and provocative, because they want to sell them, but that doesn't mean they aren't useful. Try to take the essence of what they advise and resist the urge to completely pick things apart before you try them. And conversely, avoid being too exact in the way you apply them. There is this tendency I notice in people, and everyone does this to a certain extent, where we prejudge information. We put barriers up to regulate what comes in. Now, I do understand that approach. Some people don't want to let bad vibes in. Some people don't want to be overwhelmed with new information. The issue is, you miss out on a lot. So in the description below, I'll write the names of the books that both me and this INTJ I mentioned have found useful. And useful is quite a big understatement. Some of them are very Machiavellian and on the nose, but like I said, try not to put up a barrier to them or prejudge them. Take what wisdom they have, then apply it. Okay, so here are some tactics I think would be very good for INTJs. Number 1, we're all a bit narcissistic. Make use of it. People love to talk about themselves. It's why people love hearing about their own personality type. If you can get a person talking about themselves, they will leave an interaction with you feeling good, feeling listened to, feeling like they didn't have to fight to make their point, or be reduced to small windows of time where they can simply interject in a conversation before being interrupted. This is very simple and endlessly powerful. It can be achieved simply by asking questions. They don't have to be anything interesting. Just give a person a reason to start talking about themselves and show them that you're not going to interrupt. The last piece of this is to actually be engaged. Pick parts of what a person is saying and tell them how it reminds you of something, or expand upon it with your own knowledge. But crucially, always throw the ball back to them. Don't go into your own monologue, or reframe everything they say through the lens of how it relates back to you. Just ask questions that show you were listening. And here is the danger or difficulty of this approach. It's the problem that every single introvert will run into when trying this. Despite the fact that introverts are very well suited to being listeners, listening is not a passive activity. It's draining. Trying to sustain those interactions for a long time is just brutal for very introverted types. So it's essential to avoid that dropping off the cliff moment where you just had enough and you're spent. Because for an introvert, it's like someone trying to feed you when you're already full. And you can switch from enjoying the interaction to completely hating it, basically in a split second. Me and my friend once joked that we wish that conversations could be like they are on TV shows, where you just say some funny line and get to walk off. Here's my advice for combating this issue. Set a time limit in advance. Now, you can do this explicitly and say that you need to be somewhere at whatever time, or just say some line that implies that you've only got a little while. Now, I realize that might be an awkward thing to do, but you're already kind of awkward. So may as well make it work for you. Listening to people is the easy win of human interactions. You'll be surprised how rare it actually is, and therefore how refreshing and even addictive it can become for the person who's being listened to. Number 2, classify yourself up front. INTJs can spend a lot of time trying to look human with varying levels of success. But people love aliens. Let them discover that they walk among us rather than existing on some planet far away. Prove the Fermi paradox wrong once and for all. People get offended not so much by what you say, but by how what you say violates the social contract or expectations they had of you in their minds. You'll notice that certain types of people seem to get away with saying things that are completely outrageous or offensive. This is mainly because people expect them to be that way, because that's their reputation. Or, as I'd phrase it, the person can classify them up front. There are people that would lose their jobs for saying something a stand-up comedian would get paid millions for. Context is a frustrating and fickle thing, but it is a real thing, or at least of real importance to lots of people. So I would genuinely recommend finding a way to bring up to people that you're likely to be in regular contact with that simply you often come across as blunt, emotionless, cold, etc. Use any words that you want and say, that's just how I am. That's just my way. I never mean any offense by it, and please don't take it personally. Again, it's one of those situations where it's probably a moment of awkwardness that will save you a litany of such moments later down the line. Just let people classify you as that type of person, because it is a well-known and well-established archetype. Once people know what to expect from you, the leeway that you get, or the context people apply to what you say, it changes completely. I mean, I hate to give simple and obvious advice, but that's often the best advice, because simple in principle is rarely simple in practice. Or if a person knows typology, just say, I'm an INTJ. If you are an INTJ, please take your FE polar and all of your other cognitive functions over to our Discord server. Right now we have an abundance of INTPs in there, and we could do with some NI. The link is in the description below. Also, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out our Patreon if you want to request a video like this, and also visit our website because it's kind of cool, I guess.